Ever wish you could just cut through all the noise and, get the real story behind a promising new therapy?
Yeah, like what's actually going on?
Exactly. Well, today that's what we're doing. We had a listener get in touch, curious about Arrowhead Pharmaceuticals ARO-RAGE for asthma. They sent over their info stack, and we've really dug in.
We're looking at AR-RAGE. It's one of these innovative RNAi therapies, and it targets something called RAGE, which is involved in lung inflammation, like in asthma.
We'll trace its journey, right? The clinical stuff, but also this slightly surprising decision by Arrowhead to, not go it alone for the next phase.
Right. Why they're delaying that independent step and what it all means for asthma treatment, potential partnerships, the whole picture.
And just so you know where this is coming from, our listener gathered quite a bit: analysis reports, call transcripts, even some AI summaries.
So it's not just headlines, we've synthesized it.
Yeah, curated is a good word. The goal here is that by the end of this chat, you'll have a really clear grasp of ARO-RAGE, its potential, the strategy behind its path, and what to keep an eye on.
Exactly. The key insights, without getting lost in the weeds.
Okay, let's dive in then. First things first, RAGE. What is it? Why is it important for asthma?
Okay, so RAGE. It stands for Receptor for Advanced Glycation End Products. Bit of a mouthful. But think of it as a key player, a communicator deep in your lungs. It's involved in inflammation and, importantly, both type 2 and non-type 2 inflammatory pathways.
Right, because asthma isn't just one thing, is it? There are different inflammatory flavors, so to speak.
Precisely. And RAGE seems to sit upstream, involved in several of these pathways. It's kind of central to how asthma develops and gets worse, makes it a really interesting broad target.
Okay, an upstream mediator influencing different kinds of asthma inflammation. So how does ARO-RAGE actually work then?
Well, the idea is to use RNA interference, RNAi. You might have heard of it. It's like sending a very specific genetic message. This message tells the cell's machinery to basically dial down the production of the RAGE protein, specifically in the lung cells.
So less RAGE protein means?
Less RAGE means you dampen that core inflammatory signal. The hope is that leads to fewer asthma attacks, maybe better airflow, real benefits for patients.
And that's different from how current asthma drugs work.
Yeah, generally, yes. It's quite a novel approach. Most current drugs tend to hit the downstream effects, right? They manage the symptoms after the inflammation is already going.
Ah, okay.
AR-RAGE aims to get in earlier, targeting RAGE itself, the central regulator. Arrowhead's actually highlighted they've achieved significant gene knockdown with RNAi in the human lung, like a first-in-class thing.
Really hitting the source, potentially. Sounds promising. So how far along are they in testing this in people? What have the trials shown?
So the main study so far was ARO-RAGE 1001. That was a phase 1/2A trial.
Phase 1/2A.
Yeah.
What does that involve?
Well, these early trials are mainly about safety. Is the drug well tolerated? But they also look for early signs that it's actually doing what it's supposed to biologically. This one included healthy volunteers, people with mild to moderate asthma, and also a specific group, a cohort, with high FeNO levels.
High FeNO. Remind us what that signifies.
Sure. FeNO is fractional exhaled nitric oxide. High levels in your breath usually point to a specific type of airway inflammation, eosinophilic inflammation, which is pretty common in asthma.
Got it. So they were looking specifically at that group too. What did they find in this phase 1/2A study? Was it positive?
It was, yeah. Pretty encouraging signs. They saw significant dose-dependent drops in soluble RAGE, or S-RAGE. That's the form you can measure.
Dose-dependent, meaning more drug led to bigger drops.
Exactly. They measured it in fluid from the lungs, BALF, and also in blood serum. In the lung fluid, after just one higher dose, they saw up to a 92% reduction. That's quite substantial.
Wow, 92% in the lungs. That sounds like it's really hitting the target. What about in the blood?
Also significant drops, up to maybe 88-90% reduction after multiple doses. Even the single doses showed good knockdown, up to 68%. So strong evidence of target engagement.
Okay, hitting the target hard. How long did the effect last? Is it something you need constantly?
That's another key positive. The effect seemed quite durable, as they say. It lasted.
Durable, meaning?
Meaning it stuck around. In one group, the reduction lasted at least 6 weeks after the second dose. That suggests potential for less frequent dosing.
Oh, interesting. Like how often?
Possibly, maybe, once every 2 months, which, for patients, that's a big deal for convenience, adherence,
Yeah.
quality of life, really.
Absolutely. Less frequent injections or treatments make a huge difference. What about safety in this early trial? Any concerns pop up?
The safety profile looked favorable. Importantly, no serious adverse events were linked to AR-RAGE itself.
Good.
And nobody had to drop out of the trial because of side effects caused by the treatment. They also checked lung function and didn't see any negative impacts there. So that, plus supportive animal data, gave them the green light to think about phase 2.
Right. So good target engagement, durable effect, decent safety.
Yeah.
Sounds like solid groundwork. What's the trial status right now then? Are they recruiting for phase 2?
Well, as of late March this year, 2025, that initial ARO-RAGE 1001 trial was listed as active, not recruiting. Primary completion was expected around then, end of March.
Okay, finishing up data collection maybe. Yeah. But here's where things get interesting, right? Because Arrowhead had previously suggested they'd start phase 2 back in late 2024.
That was the timeline they'd indicated, yes. Back in May 2024 announcements.
Yeah.
That didn't happen.
It did not. Instead, in February 2025, on their Q1 earnings call, they announced a change in strategy.
Which was?
They stated they're now going to look for a partner for phase 2 development and, anything beyond that, like commercialization.
Hold on, seek a partner. After those positive phase 1/2 results, why the shift? Their stated reason was pretty direct. The significant complexity and expense of developing a drug for really broad diseases like asthma and potentially COPD too.
The cost factor.
Exactly. Late-stage trials for common conditions like these, they're huge. You need thousands of patients. The studies run for a long time. It's just incredibly resource-intensive. Big financial commitment, lots of logistics.
So it wasn't about the drug failing or showing weak results?
No, they were very careful to state that. They emphasized this decision was made despite the positive early data. It's really about strategic resource allocation.
Okay, explain that a bit more. Resource allocation.
Well, Arrowhead has this really promising cardiometabolic pipeline, drugs like plozasiran, zodasiran, ARO-INHBE. They see those as their main value drivers right now.
Right, their core focus.
Exactly. So ARO-RAGE, being in respiratory, falls outside that core area. Partnering it lets them share the heavy lifting, the cost, the development work, while they focus their own money and people on those lead cardiometabolic programs.
Makes sense. And it fits with their broader strategy too, doesn't it? The whole 20 and 25 thing.
Precisely. That goal of advancing lots of RNAi drugs relies heavily on partnerships for assets outside their main focus areas. It's a way to manage resources and maximize the pipeline's potential. So think of it as a strategic pause for AR-RAGE, not a stop sign based on the science.
Okay, a strategic pause to find the right collaborator. So who might that be? Which companies are the logical potential partners here, the ones with the respiratory muscle?
Yeah, you'd look at the big players in respiratory, companies with a strong track record, the clinical trial infrastructure, the sales force, and maybe some experience with RNA therapies wouldn't hurt.
Like who?
Well, names that often come up are AstraZeneca, GSK, Sanofi, maybe Boehringer Ingelheim, Novartis. They all have a big presence in asthma and COPD. They've got the deep pockets and the know-how for those large, complex, late-stage trials.
Makes sense. But what would these big companies be waiting for before signing a deal? The phase 1/2A data sounds good, but is it enough?
It's a good start, definitely encouraging. But typically, Big Pharma wants to see more before making a huge commitment, especially phase 2 data.
Why phase 2 specifically?
Because phase 2 is where you really start to see if the drug provides meaningful clinical benefits in a larger group of actual patients. Can it reduce exacerbations, improve lung function significantly? That kind of efficacy data from phase 2 is usually key for a big partnership deal in asthma.
Okay, so they want more proof of concept in patients. Now, you mentioned that high pheno cohort earlier in the phase 1/2A trial. Has that specific data been released? Seems like that could be important for partners.
That's a really sharp observation. And no, the detailed analysis from that high pheno group, which people thought might come out late last year, hasn't been publicly shared yet.
Any idea why the delay? Could that be tied into these partnership talks?
It's definitely possible. Could be several reasons. Maybe the data analysis is complex, takes time. Maybe there are regulatory things to consider. If that data is particularly strong, showing a good effect in that specific asthma subgroup, that could make ARO-RAGE look even more attractive to certain partners. Companies might hold back data like that until they're in active, serious negotiations or ready to present it at a big meeting alongside a deal announcement. Maximize the impact,
right? Timing is everything. So thinking about timing, when could we actually see a partnership deal happen for ARO-RAGE? Are there any potential catalysts coming up?
It's plausible a deal could happen once there's more data. Maybe Arrowhead presents more detailed phase 1/2A results, including that high pheno data at a major conference.
Like which ones?
There are some big respiratory meetings coming up mid to late 2025. You've got the ERS International Congress, the Annual Congress on Pulmonology and Respiratory Medicine, places like that. Presenting strong data there could definitely spark interest or finalize a deal.
Or maybe after partner takes it into phase 2 and gets some initial results.
That's another possibility, though it might take longer. And it's worth remembering, as our listener noted, Arrowhead does seem to have a pattern of timing data releases strategically around business development. We saw similar things with ARO-APOC3 and ARO-ANG3 in the past. It seems part of their playbook.
Okay, so wrapping this up, ARO-RAGE looks promising based on early data, hits the target, seems safe, lasts a while.
Check.
But asthma drug development is a massive, costly undertaking. So Arrowhead's made a strategic call to find a partner for the next steps, letting them focus on their core cardiometabolic drugs.
Right. It's about resources and focus, not a lack of faith in ARO-RAGE.
The future now really depends on finding that right partner. And key things to watch will be further data releases, maybe that high pheno analysis, eventually phase 2 results, and any news coming out of major scientific meetings later this year or next.
Exactly. The science looks good, but the business and development realities in a field like asthma mean collaboration is often the smartest path forward.
So, for you listening, it leaves us with a thought, doesn't it? What is this kind of strategic move, pausing development, despite good data, to find a partner? Really tell us about the economics of drug development, especially for these huge, common diseases like asthma.
Yeah, and how does that partnered approach ultimately affect when, or even if, innovative treatments like this actually reach the patients who need them? It's that constant interplay between cutting-edge science and the practicalities of bringing it to market.
Definitely something to be thinking about. We'd encourage you to keep following this story, watch for news from those conferences, keep an eye on Arrowhead's updates. Understanding these strategic layers, it's really part of being truly informed in this space.